Apparently, I'm live. Which is weird. I posted a link on iCollege. Can anyone go on iCollege real quick and confirm that you can see me? But can you see me? Because I'm not getting anything on this. It says excellent connection. Is anyone on yet?
I can hear you, but can't see.
You can hear me, but you can't see me. Interesting. Oh, there's a lag. Okay, so you can hear me. What? It's because, my goodness, this is the greatest thing in the world. Why won't it? Yeah, my camera's on. This is great for anyone who's just watching it, right? Just I'm sure there's like a media source. Browse. Nope. Stop it. Stop it. I apologize to everybody. Video capture device. Can everyone see me now? I'm adding to. Because I guess the people at home are going to get audio. Whatever. All right. This is fun. Yay. Now can you see? It's laggy. Yeah, because I am. Okay, there it goes. It's. Okay, there we go. We're figuring this out. That's what's important. Okay. All right. My goodness, it only took 30 minutes for me to figure out how to do that. Okay, how we doing? I'm noticing that the amount of people that are here is starting to dwindle down a little bit. That is totally fine. That is totally acceptable. Right? That's the reason why it was okay to break this class up into Tuesdays and Thursdays, because I figured that many people would be coming in and out depending on how they feel that day, and just whatever, everything that's happening on campus right now. But everybody else is doing good? Once again, I love the Panther masks. I've heard that I can get one, but is it the bookstore? Is that where you get the Panther masks? But everybody's doing fantastic. All right, so a couple of announcements before we begin. Quick announcements. So on Thursday, I will not be teaching a face-to-face session. I won't be able to come to campus. So what I'm doing is I'm actually pushing back the deadline on everything. So if you saw on iCollege, if you saw my announcement, I said that the first exam will be pushed back a week. So you have an extra week to study for exam one. All right, and I will be back to teach next Tuesday in person, and then obviously next Thursday as well. But this coming up Thursday, I will not be on campus, and I will not be streaming anything live either. So there will be no class virtually or in person on Thursday. Sounds good, everybody so far? The exam is not live yet. I will make the exam live once we get closer to the actual deadline of the exam. You'll be able to see it, and then you can take it within about a week time frame. Once again, I highly recommend that you do not wait till the last minute to take the exam, right? Because that's when all the problems happen. That's when your internet goes out. That's when the Wi-Fi goes down, your computer crashes, right? So if you are going to take the exam, make sure that you take it at the beginning of the week that I give you please don't wait until 30 minutes before the deadline to take the exam, right? That's just a nightmare waiting to happen. Any other questions, concerns about anything before we go on? Once again, I'll say this, I can tell just by looking at the screen right now that if you are watching from home, that you will not be able to see what's on the screen, most likely. So my recommendation to you would be, watch the lecture and then, just kind of follow along with the PowerPoint slides and the notes that I post on iColors. That should work out for you. And then, of course, you can watch the videos at your own time as well. All right, fantastic. So let's go ahead and get this party started. All right, so first question is a warm-up question, like always. What is my question for today? Oh yeah, name one word that you like to use or that you hate to hear. And obviously the word that everyone always brings up is moist, right? No one likes the word moist. I haven't found anyone who likes the word moist. Does anyone like the word moist? You do like the word moist. You're okay with it. You're okay, you're not going to use it every day, right? But I mean, it doesn't bother you as much as other people does, the word moist. My thing about moist is that let's say that you go over to a friend's house, they bake you a cake, and it's not a dry cake. How would you describe to your friend how good this cake is? You can't say, oh, this is such a moist cake.
Juicy, like
Juicy? So I've heard juicy, but juicy seems worse. Non-dry? You could say non-dry, but then obviously then it sounds like you're being sarcastic. This is not a dry cake. That's just the imagination. For that.
I think for me, the word moist gets a pass. Like,
Okay.
moist gets a pass. Like, for any other context, I think moist should be canceled.
Interesting. Excellent. Any other context, moist is not the case, right? You're walking down the hallway, you press the doorknob, it's moist. Not something you like. Is there any other words that you like to use, or are going here? Yes. Immaculate. Immaculate is another word that you like to use. Immaculate, right? Use that in a sentence for me if you don't mind. The wallpaper had immaculate detail. Excellent. Perfect. Immaculate. All right. What else? Other words that we like to use or we don't like to hear? Anything? Yes, or that? Vernacular. Vernacular. Do you like to use it or you don't like it? You like to use vernacular whenever you can, right? Excellent. Perfect. Any other words? In the back, yes or that?
Like audacity.
Audacity. You like the word audacity?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All these great words. Yes. Sensational. Sensational is a word that you like to use. Okay. Excellent. Any words that you don't like to use? Yes.
gargle,
Garble?
gargle, however people say it. I don't like it.
Right, so gargle as in like, you have mouthwash and you're gargling the mouthwash. You're not a fan of it. Alright, excellent. One word that I'm trying to bring back, it's not working, no one likes it. Is daddy-o. I'm trying to bring back daddy-o back. That's just the way it is, daddy-o. I'm getting some reactions. I'm getting some odd reactions from daddy-o. Let me hear some.
Remember how last week you talked about horse
Oh no, great.
You're
gonna ruin daddy-o for me?
Huh?
Are you gonna ruin daddy-o for me?
I'm about to.
Oh no. Tell me about it. What happened? Is it inappropriate? Is daddy-o inappropriate?
Yeah.
Oh,
What if I came into class and I was like, hey, daddy?
I'm feeling an aura in the classroom, yes.
It's just the same case for all these words. It just depends on the context you use it.
Okay. Alright, so if I'm playing Scrabble with my friend, and I've played Scrabble forever, I spell a word like vernacular. I go, that's the way it is, Daddy-o. That's what I bring to the Scrabble table. Yes?
I don't like the word serve.
You like the word serve?
Yeah.
Like just the normal word serve, or is that like
I don't like calling men serve.
okay.
It's like calling one of your name.
Oh, serve is what you don't like. I thought you were saying surf for a second there. You don't like the word serve. Serve. Alright. Why do you like the word? Do you feel like it's condescending? A little bit, right? So, I tend to say serve to people all the time. So you feel like that's condescending.
People call me sir either.
Okay, sure. Excellent. One more, yes.
I don't like the word Wednesday.
You like the word Wednesday? Why not Wednesday? What's going on there?
It just doesn't sound the way it's spelled.
Right, so it's spelled very oddly.
I don't like Wednesday.
Most certainly, I agree with that.
That's how I remembered how to spell it when I was little.
Yeah, I just say Wednesday.
All right. Let's go on to the second question. question here. All right, so describe the events that impacted the film industry during this time period. So we're talking about the teens, the 19 teens, like so 1913 to 1919. What are some of the events that are impacting this time period? World War I is one of the big obvious ones. And we can talk about how the World War, impacted the film industry and film history in general. But what else happened during this time period? Well, hence 1917.
The war movie.
The Bolshevik Revolution is another thing that happened during this time period, right? We talk about the impact. So let's talk about World War I. How did World War I impact the film industry, the world film industry during this time? Yes?
People use some films as propaganda for
Okay.
countermeasures.
That was certainly, yeah, that certainly definitely was happening. Yes. What else? Yes.
Cameras were developed for use of surveillance.
Okay. Perhaps, yes. What else? What else? How did it, yes?
It's like such a big and very word that like nobody had ever seen anything like it, so it was like almost like jaw dropping sort of.
Okay.
How many people were dying and stuff.
Definitely. What else? How does a war, how does a world war impact film industries in various countries? Yes.
The war like cut off countries from being able to export films and
Mhm.
import films because they weren't able, and they were it isolated some industries. So I believe that's what.
Yeah, excellent. Perfect. That's where the term national cinemas comes into play, the title of this chapter, right? So when the war happened, you're starting to see these boundaries between countries start to form. The boundaries were always there. But previously, imports, so for example, in Russia, French imports, so foreign films were very popular in Russia, and then all of a sudden, things are cut off. There's a more distinct boundary between them, and then Russia's own film industry was able to um, become more prominent because there was not influence from other countries, right? And then obviously in any war, there's economic impacts as well, and we can see in terms of France's film industry, it took a huge hit. In particular, Pathé, which was one of the biggest film studios in France, actually stopped producing films and started producing ammunition, right? So you can see how a world war, can significantly impact a film industry. And one of the more key elements that I do want to reiterate is that because many of these countries were at war with each other, there was an embargo on imports of other films. So you're starting to see these distinct national cinemas or genres starting to form from country to country to the point where you knew that you were watching a French film or you knew you were watching a Russian film based on the way it was, the style, and just the narrative of the film as well. So you're starting to see these distinct national cinemas. Great. Next question. Describe new techniques used in filmmaking process during this time period. Yes?
Like labor-saving techniques.
Labor-saving techniques. Excellent. What do you mean? What does that mean when we say labor-saving techniques? I like that term. It sounds like it came from the textbook. Again?
Everything's being industrialized, like especially in the U.S. and Hollywood.
Right.
So there weren't any like safety protections or whatever for like labor workers. So like people were basically like paid like nothing to like make films.
Right, exactly. We're starting to see this industrialization of the film industry, particularly in the United States. We're going to talk about the United States in the next class. But you're right? We're starting to see this Hollywood studio system that uses Fordian, I'm going to be very different, Fordian-like labor-saving techniques in terms of, creating sets and then reusing the sets, right? Exactly. What else do we have? Is it Mia? Is that your name? Did I get that right? Mia. Excellent. I remember your name. I'm going to remember people's names throughout the semester, perhaps, probably. But Mia, did you have your hand up at one point?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Okay, excellent. What else? What else were you noticing during this time period? Anything else? Yes.
Directors started using more distinctive lighting and staging and acting to make the more films more realistic.
Yeah, exactly, right. This this is when we start to see film becoming far more interesting, right? You're starting to see more artistic expression and more narrative in some of these films. The films are becoming longer. Definitely. Next question. Describe some of the stylistic differences between films from Germany, from Italy, or Russia. Can you give me any examples of some of the style differences between these national cinemas? Yes, is that?
Italy had like epics, like they were like very like grand.
Right, exactly. That historical epics was like the Italian films known for historical epics. What's your name?
Oliver?
Oliver. How you doing, Oliver? Good. I'm trying to remember people's names, so I repeat your name. That's the little thing. Anyways, moving on. What else? What other stylistic differences? Mia.
Russia had more slow-paced films.
Most certainly. More slow paced in Russia films, more melodramatic, often had tragic endings in their films, right? What else? Stylistic differences between the national cinemas? Yes.
Um, so France wasn't like getting to be a lot more, um, it was getting a lot more creative than everybody else. Like it was a lot more artistic and
Okay.
artsy than the other countries.
Okay, sure. Yeah. What else? Anything else? What kind of yes?
Well, didn't Germany like create a lot of films off a lot of plays, like directly off of plays?
Yes, and we'll talk about that when we talk about Germany, but the Austrian film, right, so inspired by screenplays, definitely. Let's move on to the next question. What is a serial? This is this time period is often considered to be the heyday of the serial film. How would you describe a serial? Yes.
Were they like low budget? Like they were like short films, but not short films. They were like a hybrid between short films and like bigger films.
For the most part, they were mostly short, although some were more longer. Yes. And what else you said? They were
Like low budget.
low budget, and they tended to produce a lot of them.
Like these like thrillers.
Okay. Yes. Exactly. Right. What else is it? What else is very important about serial? Yes.
They often ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, exactly. So they often ended on some sort of cliffhanger to get the audience to come back and watch the next film, right, in the series. And so the serial is known for this. You have a short film with a cliffhanger, so that you'll want to watch the next short film. Right? That's the whole idea of the serial. Can anyone give me an example of a contemporary serial? What would be an example of a contemporary serial? Yes.
Would that be like any murder mystery TV show?
Yeah, television in general, right? A lot of the television in general is a serial. Can you give me a film example of a serial? Yeah. Wow. Yes. Excellent.
Oh my gosh, it was Avengers,
Yeah.
right? And oh my goodness, I remember how it ended because oh yeah, I literally thought I was off on the movie theater. I was so impressed. I think it was
I'm assuming you're talking about Infinity War.
yes.
Right. So so you're right. The MCU was the example that I was thinking of, right? So the MCU is you have these individual films, but they often leave with a cliffhanger. For most of them, it's usually the after credit scene, right? That's kind of like the cliffhanger that gets you, oh, I want to watch this next one. Kind of contemporary examples of serial form. Excellent. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit. Make sure what time it is because we spent an hour and a half for me figuring out how to. All right, anyways, moving on to Germany. As I mentioned before, one of the characteristics of German films was the Autorin film or the author film, which is very different than auteurism. Auteurism is something very different. So, Autorin film or author film is the screenplay writer, or the writer of the film is often considered to be the main artistic expression. Right? They're the person who is often considered to be the author of the film. Which is different than auteurism. Maybe film people in here, what is auteurism? Auteurism? No film buffs here? So auteurism is the philosophy that the director is the main form of artistic expression, right? Is the main author of the film. One of our noteworthy films is a film called Student of Prague in 1913. This film centers around a student who sells his soul to a demon, right? And to kind of give you a little bit of context of what's happening, the student makes a deal with the demon. The demon says, I will give you so-and-so amount of money if I can have any object in the room. The student agrees, and then of course the demon takes the student's reflection in the mirror. So there's a lot of there's a lot of special effects in this one, and I will show you a couple of scenes from the Student of Prague. Here he is with the demon. No! I thought I could do that nonchalantly. Sorry. right, that is the student of Prague. He shoots his reflection and then he dies, obviously. One thing I do kind of want to do a step back here and show an example of a trailer for a cereal called Panabus. It's a French cereal, and this is a trailer for the cereal itself. Um, it's about a serial killer criminal. There you go. Up next, let's go ahead and move on to, oh, there you go. Heyday of the Cereal. I showed you an example of Panama in 1913, or trailer for it. Let's move on to Italy. As mentioned before, Italy is known for historical epics. Caviera, 1914, is one of the more noteworthy films during this time period. I did want to show an example of Caviera. There we go. So this scene is noteworthy because it uses a tracking shot, which became sort of an artistic calling card for these types of films. So Italian films are also known for a type of film, a type of genre called the diva film, or the counterpoint to that, the strongman film or the peplum film. These often feature very masculine, strong, warrior-like masculine men. The peplum film, as you can see there, that masculine man that we just saw, right? But I wanted to show a contemporary example of our type of peplum films. Maybe you recognize this film. sure that I hit everything. What was that?
Just a lot faster.
It is a lot faster, right? A lot more exciting. The frock coat film is also another award-winning film. It's usually depicts stories of passion and intrigue in upper middle class aristocratic settings. Moving along here, moving along. Let's go talk about Russia. Up next we have Russian films. These are noteworthy because they're often slow paced. They have very melodramatic and have tragic endings. One of the films I do want to show is a film called The Dying Swan in 1917. The Dying Swan. This is about a man who wants to, if I remember correctly, he wants to capture death. Right? He wants to paint death. And he has an artist help him out with it. All right, that was The Dying Swan, 1917.
You said it was like really fast for how little.
Yeah, so it's safe to assume that that music that you're hearing was added by somebody else. So it's probably a contemporary soundtrack added to this 1917 film. It should be noted that in 1917, obviously the Bolshevik Revolution brought filmmaking to a standstill, and the government heavily regulated what could be shown during this time period. As mentioned before, before World War I and the Bolshevik Revolution, other countries had heavy influence in Russian filmmaking, or not Russian filmmaking, but in the distribution of film. So there were a lot of, so France, for example, had a heavy hand in Russia. And in fact, France it actually exported many of their films to various countries and was well known and had a lot of credibility in the film industry. And then obviously after World War I, France never recovered. And the United States essentially took over in terms of the stranglehold they had on other film industries. So let's talk about France. Perrier is a notable filmmaker. He filmed films such as Children of Paris in 1913 and The Curse of Greed. I do want to show a particular film. This one's The Curse of Greed. We'll show this one. noteworthy about this film is that it's located, it's filmed on location, and it's sort of taking in a lot of these natural visuals. Once again, all these films are before sound can be captured by the video, by the video camera. So all the music that you're hearing is either is someone that added music to it on YouTube later. That's just so everybody doesn't fall asleep. Moving on. Let's move on to Denmark. So Olsen, remember, he's a notable figure. He invented North Disc. One of the more noteworthy films is a film called Atlantis in 1913, a long film, and in fact, I believe it's still the longest Danish film to date. This is Atlantis in 1913. As you can see here, we have some examples of tinting going on here. So you got this blue hue to establish different moods, and then you got this red hue to kind of signify the heat of the furnace.
Are these other pictures of Titanic?
Yes, that is part of Titanic, yes. Yes.
Did they actually like sing it?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. I'll reach that question. That's the Atlantis. Moving on, so we just did Denmark. As you can see here, each individual national cinema has done artistic styles, characteristics. Let's move on to Sweden. A couple of noteworthy films, including Erotica in 1920 by Stiller here. I do want to show a clip from that. So this one is one of the very first tales of like romantic entanglement, romantic drama. Um, and here, yeah. sex romantic comedies. It depicts people having casual relationships and affairs, which is very noteworthy during this time period. Up next, we have a film called Terje Vegan, also a Swedish film. This is noteworthy because I use the word noteworthy a lot. I'm going to continue to use it. So, this film is noteworthy because it shows a lot of like natural scenery and beautiful shots. Got some toning as well, tinting. All right, so before we head out, I did kind of rush this a little bit because I was worried about how much time I was figuring out how to train. Usually I would show the clips a little longer. But I do kind of want to reiterate some things that we discussed in terms of this. This is the first half of chapter 3. So what are some things that I want that you should take away from this chapter? All the things that we took away so far. Yes?
That different countries like around the world have different styles and their own kind of films.
And that's primarily because the war has sort of it's impacted the distribution of films between countries, right? And they started to form their own sort of individual national cinemas with their own artistic expressions. The next couple of chapters that we're going to discuss, we're going to finish up chapter 3, where we're going to focus primarily on the United States and classic Hollywood filmmaking and the labor-saving practices in terms of like the Fordian industrial way of producing films. The United States sort of made famous. We're gonna finish that up next class. So the next Tuesday, when I see you guys again on Tuesday. And then the next two following chapters, we're gonna go over German Expressionism and Soviet montage. Those are probably two of the most influential artistic expressions in film history. All of film after that is heavily influenced by Soviet montage, right? Made popular in the Soviet Union after the Bolshevik Revolution. The use of editing techniques to create a story. And then German Expressionism, right, which is the use of lighting and abstract storytelling in terms of like some of the visuals. And we're going to talk about how that heavily influenced filmmaking from then on. But a couple reminders. So your first exam is coming up September 29th, if I remember correctly. That's when your exam is due, or that's when you have to have completed the exam by September 29th, right, by 11:30 p.m. I am going to open up the exam September 22nd. Does that make sense, everybody? Right? I'm simply going to give you an entire week to finish that exam. Make sure you do that. There's only 3 exams in this class, right? And if you just don't do the exam, that will be a 0, right? So I will not be extending the deadline. I won't be giving you makeups, right? That's a third of your grade to have a 0. So once again, make sure. Yes, question, please.
Sorry if this is in the syllabus, but like, will we be meeting within that time period, the 27th to the 29th? Like, as a class, will we be meeting?
Oh, great question. So I have scheduled on the 29th, when the exam is due, we will not have class. I have scheduled on every exam day, I have scheduled a day off. So I want you not to have to worry about it. Right? I want you to take that time to take the exam, rather than having to worry about coming to class and thinking about the next lecture. Right? Then you actually focus on taking that exam. So once again, even more an excuse. You don't have an excuse to not have taken the exam. Yeah. I think I forgot to record the stream, right? So those of you who saw the stream live, fantastic.
YouTube will automatically save it.
Okay, what you said?
YouTube will automatically save it as a like a video.
Interesting. I'm learning so much. I'm a digital media scholar, and I don't know these things. Yes.
Do you know how many questions the exam has?
So yeah.
Do you know how many questions the exam will be?
Oh, that's so it's either between 40 and 50 questions on each exam. I'll give you an exact number when I go back through. Sometimes I add questions, and I take out questions. But I'll let you know about that. But it's about that, right? So multiple choice between 45 to 50 questions, right? The questions will be on the textbook, right? However, once again, use my notes and my PowerPoint slides as a guideline. There's so much information in this textbook that we really don't have time to go through everything. So I was selective of what I go over. So if I don't go over it in my lecture, if it's not in the notes, and if it's not in my PowerPoint slide, then I wouldn't worry about it in the textbook. That doesn't mean neglect reading the textbook, because you kind of need to read the textbook just so you understand all this information, right? Because it doesn't make sense if you just review the notes. It won't really make that much sense to you. Right? Question?
How can you like practice for the exam?
How can you practice for the exam?
Yeah, besides like studying.
I would use my notes to study out. That's how I would practice. Right? Just make sure you understand it. My question, you're never going to exceed a question on an exam where I say, this film was made in. Like, you're not going to say a question like that. You'll be given several like context clues to a question. So if you don't know the exact date of a film or whatever, that should never be a problem. Yes.
What would be like, okay, like for example, it would be like Veronica and then it'd be like the other Italian epic and a French movie. It'd be like, which one was the French movie?
Off the top of my head, this is the way a question will sound. Right, off the top of my head. The 1920 film Erotica, the Swedish film, I'll probably even do this. The Swedish film Erotica in 1920 was known for being the first, or being this, and I'll have multiple choices, so I'll probably say something like a sophisticated sex comedy would be the correct answer. That's probably a question that we'll see on the exam.
What do you mean film specifically?
Yeah, you will have to watch the films, yes, or the clips of the films. Yes.
Same goes for the directors.
Say that again?
Same goes for like the directors.
You'll probably need to know the directors, yes, but I'll give you clues. So you won't see a question saying, Erotica in 1920 was directed by. You won't see that question. I appreciate all these questions. Thank you, because it's important to clarify these things for you guys and obviously all the people at home. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That would be funny if I just had like 20 dislikes. It'd be funny after that. Yeah, that's it. I will see you next Tuesday when we'll review chapter 3.
The last thing, it turns out the boat, I only want to take this for the model.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Also, the water that they were going in is only like 12 feet.
Well, yeah, that's really right. Cool. Thank you for letting me know.
That's all.
There you go. Everybody have a good day. Ask it. The bathroom here, so there's, guys and girls are out to the right. And right here, there's girls. Yep. No problem. You too. Hello, everybody. Oh, look at that. We got some comments. That's fun. You too.